our lives, it's hard to know. I'm going to stand up because that seat is a little sleepy when we actually are live or not. So Dan at the moment is just hitting a few drives. He's trying to hit fairway. He's trying to hit what we would call out the middle of the club, I guess.
Yes.
So hello everybody, we're live here, Talkie Golf Club, Dan Hendriksen in the house, and hello.
Hello.
Mark Crossfield here as well. And we're going to discuss today, because I get this question a lot, and I think it's quite topical at the moment with, say, even the tech that Taylor Made are talking about, which unfortunately we've not had, I've not had chance, and so have you, to test, but we will when we get our hands on it, and we'll put it through the same fair tests.
Yeah.
But I get this question a lot in videos about testing for missed hits.
Okay.
So it's a common question where people say things like, "Oh, you always hit the ball out the middle of the club, so you testing wouldn't be good as like a random amateur hitting," which has some point to it, but it also doesn't as well, which we're going to try and explain a little bit now. A few things: A, I'm never always hitting the middle, as you are; it's moving around the face.
Yeah.
And B, if you then try and deliberately test for missed hits, which is what people ask me to do, there are some serious issues with that, which I want to try and explain, because I see people getting that wrong. They're coming, can you hit some deliberately out the toe, out the middle and out the heel? And I'm going to show you how that falls down as a theory, even though in your mind it's simplistic, like it kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hit some out the toe, see if it's better, hit some out the heel, but it's not as simple as that because of the dynamics of impact and the human element, which we're going to try and explain.
Yeah.
Just to try and again keep the ideas around testing as logical and as transparent as possible for people who are struggling to understand, which are definitely, there's not many actually, most of the people who are getting this, but I do like to even work on the ones who don't understand.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to hit this at the centre of the club.
Yeah, so you hit 3 or 4 and see what's happening. Hello gents from North Carolina, Flip, hello. Twist my tailor-made, just golf swing. Lunchtime stream, love it. Henry,
love it.
Zoti, nice to have you here. Morning Brad, stop watching part 6, Happy New Year, not a win, must be a win. Did we win part 6, did we?
It's a win, isn't it?
We won the game, score a game, didn't
You
we?
won the game. The main game, you won that.
That's cool. That's lovely. So we've captured some data which we'll present to you in a second, because it's it's hard to capture this data live, which is why we pre-recorded it. I'm just going to change the camera angle a little bit here so you are going to see. There we go, guys. So you are going to see some pre-captured data, which we'll show you in a second. Dan is just capturing some other data which might tell a story or not, which we'll show you in a second as well.
Yeah.
But we're talking about off-centre hits and how off-centre hits can and can't be controlled. If you're watching this video, remember to give it a thumbs up. If you like the live feeds, remember give it a thumbs up, and we'll try and do more of them if a lot of you like it. Cool. Shall I hit some?
Yeah, you hit some there.
And then we'll present some data, yeah. So I'm just going to hit, I'm going to hit mine actually.
Yeah, you hit your new one.
Well actually it's not dotted, is it? Do you want to just dot that up for us? And I'll hit, I'll do a few swings with yours to make sure my body's back again.
Okay.
So Dan's just dotting up my club.
Aussie here.
So we've got some captured data of Dan hitting purposely out the middle, and then purposely out the toe, and purposely out the heel. We'll try and demonstrate how the face, there is drop-offs in different places, but you're going to see some interesting data on when he is trying to move that deliberately compared to if he was doing it randomly. And what I mean by randomly is just hitting a series of shots and then looking at where he struck it and seeing the differences of the performance of the face. Which we'll explain to you in a second. The nature of that test is very, very complicated due to the amount of shots that you would actually have to hit. How are we doing there, Dan? We've got the club.
Yeah, we're good. We're dotted.
Now the screen in here at the moment is being fixed, so and we're getting some. Dan's getting some. The screen, this whole area in here is actually being redeveloped, so it is a little bit strung up at the moment, but it is coming and it is getting better.
You are dotted, sir.
Jam. So I'm going to hit my drive ball, and I'm going to show you. I'm just going to try and hit again 3 shots out the middle of the club, basically. Okay. Just kind of standard.
So what's in the bag? What's in the bag, Mark?
That's coming today. Daily vlog tonight, 8 o'clock. You'll see what's in my bag. It's now my new, obviously, Titleist bag.
Yeah.
So anyone who's got a bit of a disposition of not liking me say the word planet, it's probably best not to watch it because that's what will be said a lot. That's what's in there. Oh, that was a high toe. I like that, that's quite a good one. That's really short, that was an awful hit. Do a couple more and then we'll show you this data. If I can get that in the middle would help, wouldn't it? Slightly better hit.
Yeah.
Anyway-ish findery. That's 150 ball speed. What was that going? 259 carry. Something like 2,000 revs spin or something I saw there, I think. So my standard numbers, 259 carry, obviously 262, the ongoing joke that some manufacturers don't want to listen to. Yeah, not a bad shot there. 260 carry, 25 spin.
Yeah.
So if you want to change some of the lighting,
Yeah, let's get that lighting sorted out, yeah.
That's just going to change the lighting because we're going to show you now some of the pre-captured data of the different strikes and how the message of trying to test different strikes is such a complicated one. Dan, you can take the old, you flick up the numbers and then you can punch in on the old iPad and help me make sure I'm stood in a place that isn't too in the way.
I'm just going to flick that backlight off as well, alright?
Okay. Excuse me, everybody. So have we got the other data here? There's just the toe hits there.
Yeah, let me get you up there. Okay. So we've got it all coming down here, look.
Okay. So we've got heel hits, toe hits, and then...
I've got centre hits at the top.
Okay, let's start with the centre hits at the top then.
Yeah.
So this is Dan's numbers. So if you punch in on the screen, remember Dan has in the iPad there if we need to try and point out. So this is as clear as I can get the numbers at the moment. So if you can't quite see the numbers, I'll explain them to you. So 239 carry for Dan. This is him trying to hit the middle of the club, trying to hit fairway. Spinning at 3,400 revs. Now if we go to club, Dan, for me.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, he's got a club head speed of 104.
Hang on, let me get that back up.
Sorry, he's 104 average with his centre hits, 104 average with his heel hits, and if you go to the toe hits here, he's 104. So he's trying to keep club head speed consistent, just so everyone knows. Angle of attack, he's 1.8 down with toe hits, he's 1.7 down with heel hits, and 1 down angle of attack with centre hits. So within 0.8 of a degree, he's trying to keep that the same. Club path centre hits, 0. Outside to in on the heel hits, which we'll come to, by 1.5 degrees. If you go to the toe hits there, just scroll up a bit.
Possibly not getting it, guys saying it might need to be a bit closer, but...
They're 0.4 out to in, so he changes his path a little bit when it comes to the heel hits, which we'll talk about. So if you go back to flight, so people talking about controlling flight, controlling direction at the moment, obviously with faces, and people have talked about faces for years. This isn't just about tailor-made. So yes, we see the drop off. 221 is his average carry to 233. So that is the heel hits. 221 to 239. Sorry, 239 centre hits, 222 heel hits, toe hits 227. So the heel hits are the shortest out of the 3 that he hits. So you could argue maybe when he hits this club out the heel, it's not as strong as when he hits it out the toe, when he's testing for his mishits that these people want to test for. But if you go for club, the biggest kind of defining factor here is that when he goes to his heel hits, we start seeing a dynamic loft of 20 degrees compared to 18 degrees with his centred hits, and if you go to the toe hits, it's 16 degrees. So he has his most loft when he's hitting it out of the heel. So now the test is default, it's debunked, because he's actually not, he's unable, and the idea that the objective I gave him was to try and give exactly the same delivery, but just change heel, toe, those kind of strikes. Are people, any comments on the old comments? Are people understanding any of this? Because it's a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of numbers. Do I need to take any notes?
Yeah. So watch this as well. Watch this. Look, if we go to face the path, when he hits his heel strikes, his face the path was open 4.3, face the path, compared to only 1.9 with his toe hits. And if we go to your centred hits, it was 1.4 open to the path. So his average miss with his centre hit, if we go to, with the toe hit, if we go to the toe hit, this one was funny.
Yeah.
We go to your toe hit. So his face is averaging 1 degree open to the path with his toe hit. Toe hits are meant to draw back. That's what you're getting led to believe, and rolling bulges there to try and help that draw back. Now his toe hit, face the path, only 1 degree open to a path. It's a very small number, very good club face control. If you go to flight on the toe hits, one miss 42 yards right, one miss 21 yards right, one miss 24 yards right, and one miss 10 yards right.
So it should be gearing back.
But it isn't.
But it isn't.
So if you flick all, let's have the lights back on.
Okay.
I'll try and put some ideas into what this actually means for people, and then you can get on those comments and see if anyone's actually got their head around what they're trying to say, because it is
a lot of information.
Okay. So when Dan knows he is going to try and hit one out the heel, he changes his delivery subconsciously. He doesn't try to, it just changes. He adds more loft, and his path, I think, was more out to in, and he loses distance. But it's not losing distance through his strike, because the strike isn't the equivalent to one that he hit out the toe in the middle, because he changed his delivery, even when he wasn't trying to. And he's a skilled golfer. So if you were to do the test, how I see manufacturers do it, TaylorMade, I saw on their market it say that they've got thousands of shots, which is the best way of doing it. I've spoken to Ping in the past, and they use thousands of shots to try and capture their data for how to build their clubs. And what these manufacturers do is they will throw the net over the cluster of shots. So if you imagine, if you've got 10,000 shots on this fairway, here's imaginary fairway, there will be clusters, there will be patterns. So let's say the pattern is all to the right. Every manufacturer is going to build a club that goes more to the left. That's what they're going to do. But this is the importance of fitting. When Dan does things, he little toe it to try and demonstrate what the club will do with gearing, which is what, say, TaylorMade at the moment are marketing around their face. Well, he doesn't get the numbers that the gear effect should put in there. The ball actually stays to the right when he knows he's going to do it. Now, when it's randomised, because Dan hits the ball out the middle, like lots of golfers hit them out the middle, for him to test this, which is the big question I get asked, can you test for off-centre hits, can you hit them on different places? Think about the amount of shots Dan would have to hit to get any kind of data. Let's say he hits every 10 shots, he hits 2 shots bad enough off the toe or heel to take a reading of how that club is performing. So every 10 shots he gets 2, and you need those 2 to have the same delivery, so up and down, face the path, those kind of things, to get those 2 comparing to each other. He is going to have to, I mean, I can't do the maths, but thousands of shots, aren't you?
Yeah.
So then, if you start talking about thousands of shots, you now need to start thinking about, well, that's going to have to be spaced over different days. On different days, Dan's going to have different amounts of sleep, he's going to have different journeys into the fitting centre and out, it's going to be warmer, it's going to be colder, he's going to eat different foods which will affect his performance to these tiny amounts. Which is why testing for mishits as a human is pointless. And believe me, I've tried it. So when a manufacturer is talking about trying to improve the face hits across, different kind of dispersions across the face, stroke ball speeds, as my reviews have said for years, well, that's not something I can really test, so we're going to have to go on their data for that, because of the points we're making here. Anyone getting it? Come on, put your hands up.
So how can a human test forgiveness on a heel or toe strike?
You can't, that's the point.
That's the whole point of what's...
The only way you can do it is to randomise it.
Yeah.
So do what I'm doing here, hit shots and wait for that toey one.
Yeah.
But if that toey one delivers 15 degrees of loft and the next toey one delivers 17 degrees of loft, well, the loft is going to play a bigger effect as the toe. Yeah. And if my randomised toe shot is hitting 1 up at the ball, and then my next randomised toe shot is hitting 3 up at the ball, well, that's going to make a difference on launch and spin, trajectories.
Yeah. Another one here. So, how much difference will twist face make?
Well, I don't
You
know
haven't
because
tested
I've
it
not
yet.
tested it. So, but look, from my limited knowledge, and I will test it, and I will put it through its fair test as every other club. And you've been TaylorMade are happily not wanting me to test it, which is cool by that's whatever they want to do. Dan hit his intentionally at the toe, and the ball went 40 yards right. It was averaging whatever it was right, a long way right. So if you look at their graphics, they're saying the toe hits are overdrawing for golfers, so they've redesigned the face, which isn't a redesign because, I mean, I've tested Cobra clubs that talked about this years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different point. So their graphic shows the club that will hit fairway more because it won't overturn when you toe it. Well, Dan's toes were missing right, so he's going to miss further right, in theory, without testing it, on that science. And this is why I don't go to company days. Some companies don't like. All the companies invite me to their days, obviously apart from TaylorMade now, even though they did actually invite me to the launch of the new driver, because it was in America back in the summer, but I have no desire to go on holiday with those kind of people, so I just carried on doing my work and wait for them to send me product. And what happens if you go on those days, you speak to people who pretend they know what the club's about, and this isn't just TaylorMade, they all do it to a certain extent, and I would say what I just said about your drive and they wouldn't have an answer, and I think, why have I come all this way to talk to someone who can't answer my questions? Yeah. Well, unfortunately, most of the journos aren't really asking those questions because they don't understand it themselves. They're just listening and taking notes and then writing it in their press release pieces that they post, which is, again, why I just can't go to those days. Any other questions, Dan?
Heel strikes less distance, toe strikes generally more distance, makes sense to me.
Yeah, and the other thing as well with that is that's subject to Dan's numbers.
Yeah.
So that's not strictly true as well, subject to where your path numbers is. So someone who's hitting consistently out to in might get more out of a heel strike as a bad hit than they would out of a toe strike as a bad hit. Because your centre of gravity, I've done videos on this, and I should do others because they were a while ago, and obviously your audience changes as people subscribe and unsubscribe and what have you. Basically your centre of your effective CG moves on the face, subject to if you're up and down and in to out or face open to path. So it's actually not a one position, it's dynamically moving on the face subject to delivery. So it's not as clear as just toe strikes go further than heels, but as a general rule, yes. I mean, it certainly is for me because of my delivery. Any other good questions apart from what we're having for lunch?
So what is the point in the data presented by the manufacturer?
What does that mean?
What is the point in that?
Well, they've got to present something, otherwise they're just going to go, here's a club, do you want to buy it?
Yeah.
And they're going to back it. So, look, here you go. I can produce a club and say that this club goes 7 yards further. Do you know how I can get away with that? Is I can test the club in a location 1 year.
Yeah.
Club B comes out the next year and the club's moved so that location is now hotter than another location, and they get more distance. They won't ever get that out the centre because that's controlled. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all they're doing is, let's say they build a club that helps high toers, and then they build out a model B that helps low heelers. Well, I'm going to be better off with the one that's high toers to the low heelers, so they can say this one goes 10 yards further if it's hit by someone who hits low heels consistently. You see what I mean? They don't put the other parameters in there because that's the rules of advertising allow you to do that. Any other good questions before we go for lunch now? Apart from what are you having for lunch?
A lot of questions about TaylorMade and whatnot, but
yeah.
You don't want to get into all that, do you?
This isn't really about TaylorMade, it's about people asking me to test for miss-hits constantly, which is... I don't know if someone is out there testing for miss-hits and like missing it on purpose, because if they are, they obviously don't understand delivery because it isn't testing anything. It's literally not testing. It's testing your ability to deliver different parts of the head with all the exact same readings, which I've tried it and it's almost impossible.
What spin was the highest, middle or centre strikes, heel strikes or toe strikes? I think it was heel strikes was spinning more, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were, but why were they spinning more? Think about the dynamic loft.
Yeah.
You presented more loft.
More
Loft is an ingredient of spin.
Yeah.
So spin, loft, speed and strike are your main ingredients of spin, or are the ingredients of spin, and you change spin loft.
Yeah.
You change dynamic loft delivery, where we saw angle of attack didn't really change. So the spin increased because he didn't actually hit the same shot. That's my point. So that question highlights my point that they're not getting.
Yeah, I mean, someone's asked me here, Dan, when you hit your random toe strike on the golf course, where does it go, left or right? I mean,
good question.
It's a very good question.
Where does it go?
But
because it's not as simple as that.
It's not as simple as that.
Here you go then. So if I deliver 0 face, 0 path, 0 angle of attack, and I hit out the toe,
yeah,
in theory it'll overdraw slightly to the left.
Yeah.
But if I hit a toe which has got a face or a path just moves 2 degrees to the right and the face is 0 to that, it draws back the target.
Yeah.
And in the next shot I have a 0 path with a face 1 open to the path like you did, and the ball starts right, and the gear effect keeps it straight, stops it from cutting. So it just goes right. This is also why what I'm seeing around what the face can do and people's questions about the face is ridiculous, because it's changing each shot and your face can't.
Yeah.
So where it'll help you on one shot, it'll just hurt you on the next one.
Yeah.
So you can't say, that's where trying to say one club is better than another is ridiculous. I'm not saying the tailor-made is worse than a tightness, or the tightness is better than the tailor-made, because you've got to go and test them and work out which one is better for you. That's the whole point.
My high toes go right, not left. Okay.
Yeah, well, again, it depends on his delivery, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? Absolutely. I hit a lot of toes that hit exactly on target with my hybrid, for instance. Compared to if I do that with a long iron, it just tends to stay more to the right. Go on then, one more question before we finish. Good questions, guys.
Yeah, hang on, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, get on that line.
So basically,
Get on that line.
basically, should players, when getting fit for drivers,
Yeah.
should players focus more on the numbers, or should they actually go out into the golf course and test?
Well, it's a mixture of both, but predominantly it's the in-game test that will tell you if you can play a club or not. Because if you watch my tests, I do them on the course. I make pars with a box set.
Yeah.
I make pars with epics, costing loads of money in irons, to drivers, to tailor-mades, tightness costing loads of money. I make pars and I don't.
Yeah.
And we hit drives together, don't we? Where in here our numbers are quite similar, but outside we see very different numbers
stories,
because
yeah.
obviously you've got roll kicking in, which is randomised, subject to what you're landing into, how wet the ground is, how dry the ground is.
Yeah.
We did a test recently, which you'll see, which is fantastic, where the ground is really wet. But Dan's land angle is giving him skid, so he's actually getting roll on the conditions which are you shouldn't be. My land angle's steeper because I'm hitting it higher and my ball is literally just plugging.
Mm.
So I would have gone into that test thinking I'm going to outdrive you constantly. But you'll see, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah. And so as your body or your swing changes, if you're going through changes within your golf swing, how often should the guys be fit? Should be getting in and getting tested a bit?
Well, this is my point, always has been from the start. A fitting is a lesson and a lesson is a fitting.
Yeah.
I will never teach someone with equipment that's holding them back, because then it's pointless.
Yeah.
If they're hitting a driver and it's hitting this roof, and they show me it's got 16 degrees of loft, and they're hitting up presenting loft, first thing I'm going to do is think about what driver they've got before I then think about their technique.
Yeah.
16 degree loft driver isn't going to help someone who's hitting the ball into orbit. Or vice versa, it can help them, because what you do is you teach them to hit that 16 degrees down to get them to understand how loft is under their control, and then you start building a club around what bit of control they have or don't have. A lesson and a fitting is the same thing. So it's actually, for me, if you have lessons off me, it's constant. Every lesson is a fitting. I don't do fittings, but if I did, it would be a lesson. It's the same.
Yeah.
Go on, Dan, you hit one to finish.
Oh,
with your club.
Shall I grab
yours
mine?
is here, there, I think.
Oh, there we go.
Because this has been an interesting test for you as well, isn't it, Dan? Because
big
you've
time,
obviously, it's
good
you're expecting your toes to all just draw back.
Start turning, shaking back, definitely.
And it's just
but
not...
It's me overriding it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing it's coming, it's...
Well, basically, yeah, your face of the path will always override it, and then your desire to try and hit target often has a big...
Let's try and get one up in the air, shall we?
Get up, Dan. He's going to get up just to finish. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good lunch. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you're liking the live videos. Obviously, we're going to do loads more lives as we go. I think it's a great way of showing you just basic facts out in front of you as they happen. Have a good lunch, have a good day. Don't forget, in the bag tonight, 8:30.
What's in the bag, Mark?
What's in my paid-for bag? Have a look.